And now it's Deborah Kobylt Live.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today on Deborah Kobylt Live. And our program is sponsored by Luna. And we will be talking more about Luna a little later on in our program. I'd like to welcome Mara Branscombe. She wrote this wonderful book, Ritual as Remedy, Embodied Practices for Soul Care. Gosh, thanks so much for joining us today, Mara.
Thank you for having me, Deborah.
This book really spoke to me. I was very excited to have you on our show to talk to our audience about ritual as remedy. Be very careful, everybody, when you listen to that title, because that says a lot about our book today. Mara, tell me about writing this book, what it's about, and then how you got into it.
This book is a guidebook for anyone. You don't have to have experience in ritual. And it's really a guidebook so that one could self-guide, one could get connected to, that healthy place inside, that mindful place inside. And I like to say making our good habits holy, or making our good habits generative, so that it gives us energy. And so, I was really called to write this book for the collective, for everyone to be able to do the work themselves.
What is ritual? And does ritual become a habit, or does your habit become a ritual?
Great question. So for me, ritual is anything that's done with intention and consciousness. So the difference could be you wake up in the morning and, you're already worried about what's going on in your day, and you make your coffee and you get right on your phone. Some people would call that a morning ritual. What I'm suggesting is that we wake up in the morning, we call forward 3 or more gratitudes. We stay silent and keep our phone just to the side, or any devices just to the side, until we have a moment to, receive, the good energy that could come for the day. So that is, to me, what a ritual with consciousness would be. And that's a healthy habit, I believe.
Yes. And how do we do that in this world that we're in? It's interesting. I was sitting with my 20-year-old son yesterday. I have 3 sons. And he said, gosh, so much has changed in just the amount of time that I've been alive. And I thought, wow, he's right. He was born into this whole, now my kids are not big social media people, which is very interesting because most young people are. They're more into, what they're interested in life. So in that way, I don't know if I was really carefully about what he had to say. So much has changed in 20 years, because in my lifetime, not a lot was really changing. It was just gradual, right? Social movements, which is very important. But in terms of this, the racing, in terms of the social media and the phone and the constant how do we step away from that when we've got the habit? I'm the one, you just actually talked about me. I wake up, I look at my phone, I make my coffee, I'm back to my phone. How do we break it? How do we break it?
Yes, great question. I believe it's discipline. It takes discipline. It really does. And like everything, and that's where we can think about healthy boundaries. And you might need to write a note the night before you go to bed. And I say, set yourself up for success. Maybe put the journal right beside your coffee maker. And so you go for the journal first thing. And maybe, you have writing your gratitudes is the best way for you to do it. So we have to set ourselves up. It takes a little bit of insight, and it takes just a little bit of work, not much actually, because then we can reprogram our brain, in fact. And so that habit gets interrupted, and then we get a break from that. And we need the break, because everything is so immediate in our world. You're right. It has shifted so much. And it's like the call to action we're always needing to be on. And what I'm suggesting throughout this book is, let's give ourselves some space, some time to connect with who we are, which is different than yesterday and will be different tomorrow.
How do we do that? Step 1, 2, and 3. Like, if anybody gets anything out of this interview and they said, okay, she gave me 3 nuggets, I'm going to do them tomorrow just to get started. What do we do?
Okay. So I would like to give a morning ritual, because I believe if we start our mornings on the right, frequency, we're going to have a different experience in our life. Absolutely. Okay. So step 1, you commit to not being on your phone right away. 5 minutes only. Let's start slowly with 5 minutes. Wake up, call forward 3 or more gratitudes. You can have your warm tea or coffee, make it mindfully, consciously, not reaching for the phone, and then sip it with, a very intentful energy also around what are you welcoming into your day. So those are 3 steps, gratitude, being mindful in quiet space, and really visualizing the day the way you want it to go. So if those 3 steps are followed, we're already tuned into a frequency. If they are not followed, most likely, we all experience it. I experience this myself. We're going to go into, I have to do this. I have to do this. There's no way I'm going to be able to do it. It's way too much. The dread, the stress. So let's try and choose just that 5 minutes to start with consciousness.
We're going to go to a commercial break for Luna, but when we come back, I want to talk a little bit about the importance of elements, the elements of nature. Mm-hmm. I also want to talk about how did you get into it? Because I know you went through a time in your life that was not so easy as well. So as soon as we come back from this commercial break from Luna, I'd like to touch upon that, okay?
Sure. Thank you.
Welcome to Luna, where the mission is to elevate rest with beautifully designed sleepwear made of organic Pima and cozy cotton silks. Known for pioneering washable silks, everything Luna designs is to improve your rest with their state-of-the-art products such as no-twist waistbands, strategic ventilation, and stay-put sleeves. Luna was founded by LA native Ashley Merrill, and the company prides itself on paying attention to every detail. Check out these beautiful products. They're so comfy, you'll finally want to toss out your old t-shirt sleepwear and put yourself into one of these beautiful sleep sets and robes, and there's so much more. Go to luna.co and use Deborah20 as your discount code. That's DEBORAH20 at luna.co and join the Better Rest Revolution.
Thank you so much for that. And thank you, Luna, for sponsoring our show. Now, Mara, I want to talk a little bit and take you back a little bit to a time that was very difficult in your life. Would you share that with our audience and how that pivoted you?
For sure. There was so, I did have a tragedy in my life, and, my boyfriend at the time had a mental illness and ended up committing suicide, in fact. And I was 20 years old, very young. And in that moment, Deborah, something shifted in me where it was almost as if, I think I would describe it, and I have described it as I became a woman in that moment. Like I just became this, there was an energy of deep compassion, obviously deep sadness and grief. And there was another energy of healing and supporting others on their healing journey that came through very strong. From that time, what I did is I continued to study all these different mind-body modalities and trainings. And I've always been a teacher, and writing has always been a passion for me. So this is what evolved through that deep experience. And it then allowed me, I believe, to support others in their grief, to support others in working with their shadow energy, which is a lot in the book, is I unpack our emotions, and in a way that we can really look at what our emotions are and how they may be ruling our life when we're not even aware of it, so that we can heal from that and really live the life that we deserve and the life that we want.
I want to get into that also in a moment, the emotions, but talk to me also about, you sort of went sailing around the world too, didn't you? You decided to get in touch with nature. See, I believe, this is throughout your book, that we are nature and we are part of it. We're a small part of something so much bigger. And in your book, I really felt that. And I think through your grief, you decided to go out and find that yourself. Isn't that right?
That's a great way of describing it. And that's actually another feeling, in that deep state of grief. I feel very blessed because I did have that direct experience of the world is vast. The universe is so expansive. And so, yes, I went sailing. I crossed the Atlantic in a 105-foot sailboat. It was incredible. I traveled around India and Nepal and Thailand, learning all these different modalities. And I really felt like there was this time that followed that period of loss and grief where I really was on the path of self-discovery. And nature was with me every step of the way. And so I feel that we can weave in the elements into our daily practices through the rituals in the book also that remind us of some of these very positive qualities that we can embody through nature.
What do you suggest doing that? How to first tap in? And you talk to us about a morning ritual, because these rituals are everything. There's a reason why athletes are successful, right? Because they have a ritual, and I've seen it up close, right? They get up, there's very little that will get in their way. And those who are very, very successful will make sure, even with many setbacks, that they stick with that ritual. Talk to us about the ritual of engaging with nature.
Yes. Well, each element. Okay. So for one, some of us live in cities, in apartment buildings. We don't have as much access to nature, but I'm going to say you can, you have a window, you can look out at the sky, you can make your way to the park, find a park that you love. And for some of us that are closer to, full immersion, nature, trails, forest, ocean, lakes, rivers, all of it. It's like medicine for us. There's something that happens when we, especially when we're not distracted on our phones, we turn the phone off and we receive. So if, I was to look out at the lake or the ocean, it would remind me, so this is the little piece around integration. So water teaches us not only how to let go, but how to be fluid in our life. When we hold on too tightly to things, we get frustrated, we get angry, we desperately want it to go our way. And the universe doesn't always provide that. So water is the teacher of that. Earth is the teacher of grounding and abundance. So look at Mother Earth, look at her exquisite creations. You dwell inside the beautiful center of the flower, it's just incredibly cosmic and gorgeous. And so that kind of brings us into a state of wonder, awe, beauty. And we can, work with the energy of fire. Fire is the element of transformation. So I do a lot of full moon rituals. At full moon, we do burning ceremonies. We have a fire and we burn limiting core beliefs. We shed old layers of old habits, the unhealthy habits. And then we can work with air as, just like purification. We can look up and we see the eagle, the hawk, the owl, the hummingbird, and their an incredible ability to soar. And so these are the pieces that I pull in, and they're all connected to different centers of the body and emotions also, in fact.
Wow. Do you have an excerpt from the book that you would like to read to me? I have a favorite personally, but I always like to ask the author to read something that maybe you repeat to yourself or you read to others. Do you have something?
Well, I would like to read the poem that we, talked about. But before, I wanted to just give one, I could just say this off the top of my head because it is in the book a lot. It's throughout the book. And it is this very simple mantra or affirmation. It is, what you feed grows. What you feed grows. What thoughts you're feeding into your mind, the thoughts that you're allowing, that holds a vibration. So that's the I am never, I am always, life is hard, life is terrible, all that stuff. That, sure, that could be your reality at that time. But if you continue to cycle through thoughts like that, that's even going to become more of your reality. So, and then, on all levels, what you feed in terms of media consumption, what you feed your body, how much water you drink, all that stuff. So I wanted to share that first. What you feed grows.
I want to talk about something resonating in your mind, because I am a ruminator. I am a lifelong ruminator. And boy, do I have to work hard. Usually I have to go outside in nature to break that. In fact, that's why I wore green today. I want you to know that. As I was putting on my jacket, I thought, I'm wearing a nature color today because I need to get into the whole vibe of what's going on. But for those of us who do that, and for me, my go-to is nature. try to, garden a little bit.
Yes.
Even if you could do one of those vertical gardens. I want to talk about that. Those are so powerful, because I have a lot of friends in apartments, and these little vertical gardens are like everything. They have them on their windowsills. But the rumination, how do you snap out of it? How do you snap out of it?
Okay. So the mind loves the rumination. It actually puts grooves in your brain pathways. This is science. Okay. So it's in yoga, Sanskrit, it's called a samskara. A samskara is a groove in the brain that is a core belief that continues the cycle of rumination. So the way you can break the cycle of rumination, the spiraling thoughts, for some of us, we like to, journaling is very helpful. So you want to just free write 2 to 3 minutes of all those ruminations, like get it all out. When you see it on a page and you read it back to yourself, it's going to be helpful, because you're going to say, I don't want that anymore. I don't want to feed that. In the moment, if you can't get out of that cycle, drink a tall glass of water, go into another room, like state change, something, splash water on your face. These are really simple ways, snap out of it. I think that once people know that they have just one experience with it, it can be very helpful. Also, meditation, at first, it will show you all of your ruminating thoughts, and you will think that you are going crazy. And if you stay with it, you're going to see that, and the work is to see the thoughts and just let them go. See the thoughts, let them go, come back to the breath. And so that meditation for some will be helpful. And so that's a little bit, some of us need to garden. Also being creative, any creative act can help get us out of that state.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you were about to read something, but then this spawned another question for me. So hang on to the reading for a second. Let's go back to emotions, right? It's almost in the same genre as ruminating, but letting your emotions take over. I'm guilty of that one too. It's like, I've got them all. It's like, I'm textbook, honestly. So when I read this, I'm like, that's me. And I'm someone who is aware of ways to break the cycle, and then I'll go back, and then I go forward, and then I go back. Oh my goodness. Let's talk about emotions, because that's a really tough one for people, because they will take over and clamp onto us. So what do you suggest? Is it the same type of ritual?
Well, there's many rituals in the book that are actually, around certain emotions, but I wanted to share that the Latin term of emotion is movere. Movere means to move out or to clear out. So just knowing that the emotions come, they want to move through. Once we learn about some of the deeper core beliefs that may be limiting and feeding that emotion, for example, the victim mentality, the martyr, always stressed, never enough time, never enough rest. I'm guilty of all of these too. I mean, this, we write also what we, need in the world. Like all of us can, really, I feel, benefit from looking at our emotions. So one way to do it, I say to people, choose your top 3 limiting core beliefs. Okay. Top 3, the 3. And so you might need to do this, Deborah, every full moon. I'm going to give you a little task. Okay. You're going to get a full moon app. Like you're going to get the app somehow so that the full moon lands in your calendar. Okay.
Okay.
Because you're going to notice around full moon, most likely, that your emotions get a little higher. They get a little hotter. They get a little more intense. Some of us are, gets frustrated energy. It's wild energy. We see it in our children. We see it in our pets. It's real deal. So during full moon, to write out your 3, like the 3 repetitive emotions or thoughts that are cycling through, you write them down, you cross them out, and then you reframe them. For example, there's one, I never have enough time. I hear that a lot with my clients. There's not enough time. I never have enough time. And so you would cross that out, and then I would coach people to write something that is true in the moment. So all we want to do with the emotions is track what is true. So if what is true is I am generating all the time I need in order to create, so reframing it in a slightly positive nature will be really helpful for getting out, because some of us need to see it on paper. Some of us need to talk to someone else to get support with this. Some of us can just go into nature and give that realization, like I give it to the lake, I give these emotions to the lake or to the ocean. I cleanse myself of them just for right now and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, these are also rituals that have been done long before we were here in the US, right? That many of the Native Americans, this is how they practiced and continue to practice. This is just sort of our modern life sort of took over our, ways that we used to be balanced, don't you think?
Yes.
And it takes a real lot of habit and ritual to break through that. I know it does for me, and it has to be consistent. Is there a certain time of day that you say to people? I mean, I know you said morning, which I think is probably the best because nothing can really get in the way, unless you have a screaming baby in the next room or something, in which case, I guess, I don't know, take a minute. Yeah. But, that's why I like to interchange those two words, ritual and habit, because one can become the other, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And so another good time to look at a ritual to do for yourself, especially because we're in this like lack of sleep, lack of rest mentality in our culture, So looking at an evening ritual would be turning your devices off 30 minutes before you go to bed at least, and drinking a calming chamomile tea or something like that. Working with some plant essential oils like lavender is very calming, having a lavender bath, just, and then also this is one thing that I love to say to people, as you're getting ready for bed, acknowledge that your work is done for the day. Acknowledge that your work is done for the day.
I like that. I really like that. Let's talk a little bit about food too, because I have a lemon tree in the back, right? And my husband just picked a bunch of lemons. He's giving them to friends. And I notice if I just pick up the lemon, it smells so good and so fresh that it actually it calms me down too. Yes. So the importance of natural foods, and please, by all accounts, stay away from the junk in a box, right? I mean, that's all part of it. Correct?
Yes, correct. And the more we clean up the food, everything that we take in, the more I feel, to your point earlier, that we can begin to clear our energy field more readily. So let's say, someone's going through a really hard time. And when we go through hard times, it is hard to take care of ourselves, right? We all know that.
Yes.
But the reminder that what you feed grows, and that reminder that if you can just put a little bit of effort in, at least you're keeping clean in your mind body field. And then what happens over time is you become so attuned that you start to understand and realize what is yours and what is not yours. This is really big energetically. We're empathic beings. We are empathic beings. We take on energy all the time. So the more we are physically well and mentally, working on being well, the more we can be discerning, in fact, and say, my discipline, this is my practice, it's discipline. And my disciplined practice is allowing me to say, no, thank you. That's not my work to do. That's your work to do. I think, do you understand,
Oh, very much so. I love that.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm taking it all in. Your voice is also very calming. So it allows me to take it in, to open up and just absorb it. Let me have you read that excerpt that sort of speaks to you.
Okay. So this is in chapter 4. So we're working with the element of water, and it's called Shapeshift. Flowing with your creative genius to manifest your dreams, your life. And so this is, I write a bit of poetry before each chapter. And so this is a little bit more poetic. I love to garden, and I love to be, with the earth in this way. So this is around this. Tend to your inner self the way you tend to your garden. Feel the call to weed, water, plant, and harvest. Elemental wisdom surrounds you. Churn, burn, morph, twist, turn, reach, fall, and begin again. Your soul arrives through all the dimensions. shimmery flash, the heart speaks of an unforgettable alchemy, source in its purest form.
That is beautiful.
You.
Tell me what that excerpt means to you personally.
Yes.
Because you pick that one, and you have many in the book that are beautifully written and, of course, very poetic. And what I love about poetry is, you have to pause when you read it. You have to read it slowly.
Yes.
It's like chewing your food slowly. You have to read poetry at a pace, which is why I like what you've written in the book. So tell us what that means to you in a personal way.
So personally, it means that, I need to show up for myself every day, and I can begin again, and I can forgive myself for what happened yesterday. Let's say it wasn't at my best. I went back into an unhealthy habit, or, an emotional pattern that, didn't serve me, but I needed to go through it, obviously, because I did. And so it's the reminder that nature is so vast. It's so dimensional. To me, it's source at the purest form. It's like it's the most primal thing, and the most unexplainable, which allows us to perhaps be vast and know that we can't control nature. Right. So that brings us into a humble human space, and that we can open ourselves to that kind of alchemy as almost a healing in itself. So that's what it means to me.
That is beautiful. So for people who want to work with you, first of all, I would like to suggest that everyone pick up this beautiful book, Ritual as Remedy. Please. It's a wonderful read. It's the kind of read where and I know it's designed this way, where you can pick it up and put it down, leave it by your nightstand, take it down in the morning and read, because reading is a wonderful ritual. Yes. And I like to do bite sizes at a time. I don't like to consume a book all at once. Like, it took me a while to get through this. And I also am one who will flip around, I'll go from one chapter and then I'll go back to another one. And it's a very relaxing way to absorb this book. But tell us how people can, other than picking up the book, work with you, and what else you do out there in the community to help others.
For sure. So, I have on my website, is all my information, marabranscombe.com. And what I do is I do personal sessions, healing sessions, coaching sessions. People come to me for oftentimes when they're in a state where they need support in their own healing, or there's been loss, there's been grief, or they're in a major life transition. And I work with people, via the internet, or if you're in Vancouver, we could work together. I also lead retreats, international retreats, and some of my favorite work to do, where we do 5 to 7 days of deep work together, yoga, meditation, ritual. And I lead ceremony. So every new moon and full moon, generally, I'm leading something online since the pandemic anyway. And and I do have a lot of online courses that people can just do right off my site. So all those ways.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. I also think the Zoom helps people. Sometimes people aren't ready to show up in person.
Yes.
And to be able to quietly work through what's going on within us, with someone like you on the other end, is actually very therapeutic. So I'm glad that you do that. And that retreat sounds lovely. So I'd love to know more about that when you get that together as well. And I hope our audience as well. Any parting words for our audience?
I think that something has really struck me today with our conversation, which is this beautiful balance between discipline and living your best life. And so how do we manage that? The discipline being showing up to do the rituals. Or what I would love to say to the audience, is there one thing a day that you could do for yourself that you consider soul care? One thing that makes you feel really good and connected and is generative for you. So that's what I'd like to share, is keep going, keep doing the work, keep showing up in all your ways, and practice forgiveness, self-forgiveness.
Very good. Thank you so much, Mara. And thank you for being on our show and joining us. Please go to Mara's website. Please pick up the book, Ritual as Remedy, and you can find our full interview and some promos too that we're going to release over the next few days on all Deborah Kobylt Live platforms. We're on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and then on every audio platform for a podcast that you can think of, whether it's iHeart or Apple. Look up our name and you'll find us there. So again, thank you to Mara, and thank you to our audience for joining us, and Luna as well for sponsoring this show. Until next time, we'll see you then. Bye-bye.